What is worse than finding a worm in your apple? Finding half a worm. Whichever you find, the worm is a nuisance, a crop pest. Pests are organisms harmful to humans and human concerns like their crops and livestock. When we say pests, we're referring to organisms like plants and animals. Plant pests are weeds, and animal pests include worms or nematodes, insects, rodents, mammals, birds, and so on. Insects are considered the most important group of crop pests. They multiply quickly and are present in large numbers. They affect many parts of the growing plants, the roots, the stem, the leaves, the young shoots, and the fruits and seeds. Let's start with the root feeders. These are insects, either in the form of adults of larvae, which feed on the roots of plants. Examples are the cassava mealybug and the yam beetle. Remember, yam and cassava are root tubers. The life cycle of the yam beetle begins in damp areas like riverbanks, where the yam beetle eggs hatch to release larvae. These larvae feed on organic components of the soil. Then they feed on grass roots before they transform into pupae. These pupae metamorphose to become adult yam beetles that migrate to areas where yam is cultivated. They burrow into their habitat, the soil, and feed on the tubers below ground. They feed for a period of time before migrating to breed by the riverbanks, where adult females lay eggs that continue the cycle. Yam beetles mature sometime in March. They migrate to feed or go on feeding migration between April and June. They can be found feeding in farms between July and October, and they migrate to breed between November and December. Stem borers or stem burrowers are the larval forms of moths or beetles. They include larval forms of longhorn beetles that affect sugarcane and the African white stem borer that affects rice fields, among others. Oftentimes, people refer to the longhorn beetle larvae specifically when they mention stem borer. These larvae feed on stems and make them weak. They begin their life cycles when the adult moths or beetles lay eggs around the pedicles or leaf sheaths of their host plant. These eggs hatch to release larvae which bore into the stem and feed on it. These larvae mature and fall to the ground, where they enter soil and become pupae. The pupae metamorphose to form adult insects, beetles or moths that mature, mate, and the females lay eggs that hatch to continue the cycle. So far, we have looked at some root feeders and stem borers. We also looked at the life cycles of the yam beetle, a root feeder, and beetles and moths whose larvae are stem borers. It's easy to remember these life cycles as they all go through 4 stages: eggs, larvae, pupae, and adults. Let's move on to more pests.